Now that I've got my student info system skeleton written, I'm going to do a few actual things inside run tests and 5 minimum credits. And as I'm making this video, I'm realizing that I made the videos for the lab part of this week before I did the notes. And for the lab, I just kind of followed the directions in it for the part of the lab that's like the find minimum credits. But now that I'm sort of left to my own devices, I realize that I would do it a different way. That's more in keeping with just architecture of object-oriented programs. So I just want to take a minute to say something about that. So in run tests, or in find minimum credits is supposed to find the student with the fewest credits. Up to this point, we've been writing this in a very procedural style, which means that usually we've been passing all like in this case I would probably pass an array in here. Like it might look like this, like student like array of students or array, something like that. And then I would loop through it. And so I'm going to write it like that, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to do it that way, basically. So this was the classic thing that we've been doing. We've been taking parameters in and then processing them and then maybe returning something. So if I were doing it this way, I would make a student, lowest, and I'll set it to maybe the, I guess I can set it to null. Let me set it up to be null. Then if the array array length is greater than 0, I'll set lowest to the first item in the list. And this is just to avoid not having a out of bounds exception if somebody happens to pass me an array that's 0 length. Okay, now at this point I know that I have myself set up and I can write a for loop to go through my array. This should look pretty familiar at this point. I could also start this at 1. The only reason I'm not starting it at 1 here is just to hopefully get you into the habit of starting everything at 0. But the reason I could start this at 1 is because I've already set the minimum at the first element in the array, so I don't really need to check it again. However, it's never wrong to start at 0, and this is a good habit to get into. So now I check to see if the current slot in the array get credits has fewer credits than the current lowest one, then it should become the new minimum. And then we just go through that every slot in the array like that. At the point that we get to the return statement, we're hoping, actually, by rules of logic, the lowest item should now have been found by going completely through the array. If I want to test that, I will, maybe in run tests, I'll test that theory by not putting a couple students into the student array and then calling my find minimum credits. So we'll see that next.